Yeah, it's chill.
You mentioned like mornings being busy for you, and I know that you do you stream almost like every day in the mornings, right? Like morning medleys, is that what you call it?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually every weekday morning I'm in
Weekday
there.
morning, Monday to Friday, streaming. Like, and what time is it?
It's like 9 to it's supposed to be 9 to 11, but it usually is like 9 to like 11:15, sometimes like 11:30. I'll go a little bit over, but
Mm-hmm.
it's in about 2 hours every day.
I'm really curious about that. So, I caught like a few episodes here and there, like over the past few months. And I'm just really curious, like, how does Omni do this? I mean, even for this stream that I'm doing, Symbiosis. I mean, there's a lot of like preparation going on. We talk to the guests, sort of like hash out what we're going to talk about. And I
Yeah.
would assume that would be different from like say an everyday stream where you sort of like hang out with people. And I'm curious, like, what the process is like, and also like what is the internal talk like for you? Like when you sort of like sit down in the morning and you start the stream, you start the
Oh
camera.
crap.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Well, I think I think playing piano is something that especially when I first moved to LA, it wasn't something that I would do a lot, just because you know how like hectic moving can be. It can be really hard to get back into like your
Mm-hmm.
routine. And I found that like earlier when like not Patreon, when Periscope and like Instagram Live were kind of first getting rolled out, I was like, oh, I'll just like record myself playing piano, and it'll be for me because since I don't have like I don't know how to like read or write music, so a way to kind of record music without doing the whole like plugging everything in is just record a quick video, and then later you can kind of check back. And so I would do it that way, but I would do it in the form of streams, and there wasn't like barely anybody in them in the beginning anyway, but it was just kind of like a routine. It's kind of become a part of like, oh, the music routine that'll help keep me from getting like too rusty on
Mm-hmm.
keys. And so, but now it's become such a like a part of like the morning and a part of like, okay, this is like it's almost like piano practice. It's like a daily practice, but the internal monologue going into it, I guess it ranges a lot. It's weird. It's actually really weird, I guess. It's like going, I don't know, like if you've ever experienced this of like maybe living in like a house or like living in a house and having like your family there, your siblings there, or maybe roommates there, and you kind of before you open the door, it is kind of like you're in this like capsule almost of your own, and then when you open the door, it's like okay, now I'm out in the world and I'm gonna have to be dealing with people, and sometimes that can be kind of hard, like to like take the first step out of the room. I feel like it's almost like an easy way for me to like start being social in the day,
Mm.
but it not being like overwhelming because it's like, oh, I'm like here for piano, I'm here for music. I can like talk to people. There's like people that are like regulars that I'll see in pretty
Mm-hmm.
often. And it's like, okay, I can like talk to these people. And usually when I'm doing that stream, like I haven't like had any contact with like a human yet.
Mm.
I'm like, it's like, I've done my little morning routine and then I do that. And it is kind of like an easy, nice start. I kind of like look at it as almost like turning on a radio like in the morning or, greeting
Mm-hmm.
people. It's kind of like a cool exercise. And it can be a good start to the day. I used to do them in the evening. I think I prefer doing it in the beginning of the day now.
Ah, right, right, right. That's really fascinating. Because like whenever I watch your stream, you seem very natural. And I
Oh,
mean, you've been doing it for a while now, so obviously, like
yeah.
that's something that you're sort of like at home with. But yeah, yeah. It feels very natural. It doesn't seem forced. It just feels like you're just hanging out with a friend, you know?
Yeah. That's cool. I'm glad that it's received that way.
Yeah, yeah. It's really inspiring as someone who is interested in exploring, streams, and this mode of communication too. Um, because I mean, it could easily be one way. If that makes sense, it's like you have the
Yeah.
streamer and then you have the audience, sort of like in the chat, right? And for me, that's a little bit, excuse me, it's a little bit kind of awkward for me because I'm so used to like the back and forth of people, like having a conversation,
Oh my god.
And so
Absolutely.
like sometimes even like if the chat is not popping, and like even for me to sort of like encourage conversation, like that's sort of like I don't know, it's hard for me. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, it's like it's super difficult. It's like super weird. There's like I think that there there's like how there's that like moment of people always like draw like the funny comparison of like when you're like looking at something on your phone or your Switch or whatever, and for a brief moment, like the screen has to go black, and you're just staring at your face, and it's like this really like awful, like it's this horrible experience of like, oh my god, I'm alone. Like I think that's it's the same thing. Like there's definitely times like during the stream, even when I first started, or even now, where I'm like playing something. And I kind of like look up and I'm just looking at my phone. It's like, cause there's nobody like really there. Like people can see me, but I'm just like, I'm looking at this like tiny rectangle and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, what's going on out there? Everybody had a good weekend or whatever, and it's like I feel like a late night host, like vamping for like time.
It's so interesting too because I feel like like what we're doing right now, you and I, you as a streamer and me doing this like talk show,
Yeah,
is sort of like an art form that has been going on for years and for decades now. I mean, with
absolutely.
TV and radio and all that stuff. I think the like those were precursors to like streams. Um,
Yeah,
and there's certainly an art to it, and there's certainly people who are much more natural. But I also find that the more that you do it, the more that it makes you a little more confident in your voice. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like I would watch my own streams. Like exactly like after this show, I would watch the stream and sort of like started to sort of like pick on like, okay, like what can I do better?
Oh
Like,
wow, you're braver than I am.
well, how do you do it? Do you ever watch your past streams?
I have a couple of times like looking for something, right? Like looking for like a musical thing that I did, but I get so immediately annoyed at myself. Like looking at the video of myself, I'm just like, what's this clown doing? Like, oh my god, I played that bit. I get like lost in like a musical bit, and I'm like, wow, I really did play that one line from that song for like 20 minutes straight. Like I didn't even look up from the keyboard. It's
Yeah.
I can be pretty brutal on myself, but I see what you're saying though.
I'm curious about that. So we're both producers. We both make music.
Yeah.
A big part of my process is isolation. In that, I've it's hard for me to imagine to actually create and produce something that's listenable while people are watching. And so I'm curious, like
Oh my
how
god.
how you do it, or what your internal process is like whenever you do it, or whenever you share it with people.
I think if I'm being honest, it still sucks a lot of the time. I feel bad if like somebody's like looking at this and they're like, "Well, it never gets better." But there is like I think I have like a production stream on Friday where I do it for 6 hours,
Wow.
and I think one of the main reasons I do it for 6 hours is because I'm like I don't trust myself to come up with a cool idea in like an hour or two. I think that sometimes like I kind of fiddle around and I'll like hit gold, and sometimes I won't. But there is this sense of like I feel you with the whole isolation thing. Like I hate it when people are like, "Yo, send me some of your like unreleased demos. Like I want to hear them." And I'm like, "No, it's not finished. Like it's garbage. Like I don't want you to hear this like this unfinished thing because you'll get the wrong idea, or you'll like want to change something in it." And then like of course like every artist, like I'm sure you can relate, is very really sensitive about your art form and stuff like that. And so you want to be completely confident with it before you share it.
Yeah.
And there have been some people that have like come into a stream on the Friday streams regularly, and they've seen a song go from like literal silence, in 2 notes, to like like a completely finished song now. And so I think that I I'm always a little I'm always a little like hesitant to share those things with people, but I think that particularly because of the smaller kind of like cozy, wholesome crowd that comes into the Friday streams all the time. They're like pretty chill for the most part. I think if I was doing it and it was like, I don't know, on like the front page of Twitch, I think I would get so many people coming in that are just like, yo, you're trash. This is like the worst snare I've ever heard. And I think I would get like, I mean, in all of my self assuredness and confidence, I would be like, yo, this sucks. Maybe I am bad. But I think that
Mm,
people are pretty cool in the streams generally when I'm doing stuff like that. Like they're not like ripping me a new one every time I make a mistake.
yeah.
But it is hard. I notoriously hate people listening to unfinished music. Like it makes me feel bad. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
yeah. It sounds like you've built a sort of like a safe community to sort of explore and share your process.